Well, thank you, Pauline Rochefort, for joining me in the Small Town Times studio here at Lou Dawgs. Actually, I'd like to have a series of interviews with the candidates. You're representing the Liberals here in the Nipissing-Timiskaming riding. And of course, full disclosure, you're my mayor in East Ferris as well, right? So this is very good. As I told you, there's a couple things I wanted to find out about your platform and talk about, and we're in the midst of this historic election because of this threat by the Americans regarding tariffs, talk about annexation. It's really brought Canadians together in a way I haven't ever seen. Have you ever felt this before?
No, you know, Dave, as I knock on doors, and I've been knocking on a lot of doors in the last 2 weeks, definitely there are different issues out there in our community, and the cost of living is certainly one, but most people, almost all people, say they put that aside in order to be able to focus on our sovereignty, on Donald Trump. That is definitely by far the main concern of people. I'm equally surprised by how many people are watching television closely, listening to the news, and so it is important to people. They want to be informed, and they want a government that's going to fight on their behalf. Fight for Canada, as they say, is very, very prevalent.
In my drive in, I noticed the gas price is minus the carbon tax right now, and it's made a big difference. What is your real plan going forward regarding reducing carbon in Canada?
But certainly, I mean, the Mark Carney government, the Liberal government, has put forward a platform that is very strong in support of climate change, if we had to say, and our environment. So basically, it started with the carbon tax, removal of the carbon tax, but it is maintaining the industrial carbon tax, and that is very important as they look at redistributing the profits that would flow from that particular tax to help Canadians with incentives, and that's where the focus will be. That's where the focus in the world in a lot of the G20 countries is, on incentives for citizens to purchase clean technology items in their house. And so basically that will be the direction of the Mark Carney government, the focus on incentives. And very much part of that is certainly the electric vehicle transition that is equally significant in the Mark Carney platform, Liberal platform.
And what is that? Is it's going to force people to buy electronic vehicles? Or what's the deadline for buying internal combustion engines? How's that look going forward?
A couple of words I want to say. You know, I have been a mayor, as you've pointed out, and every conference that we go to as mayors, they have seminars and workshops on roads, issues of roads, but truly it's issues of the number of cars on roads. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've seen you know, projections that show like a city like Toronto having so many cars today, but in 50 years, I mean, all you see are cars on the map. And so it is a major issue throughout the world, the number of cars that are being used by people. So tailpipe emissions are a serious issue for our environment. And so there is a worldwide shift. Sometimes we feel that it's just occurring in our community or in our country, but it is throughout the world. And there is a reason why our great MPP has worked so hard to help our province transition and draw industries that are linked to the electric vehicle transition. And so very much, I mean, there has been alignment with the provincial governments that are involved in that strategy and our federal government. So they had set standards or goals by which, it often reminds me of Steve Jobs, and I'll just go there for a quick moment. You know, when he said that back in 1984, that one day everyone would have like a computer that would be like a book, and people said, how could those huge computers ever become so small, you know? But I mean, now, I mean, they're even smaller than that, right? So it's a matter of setting a goal, and that's what with electric vehicles the country has done. We've set a goal for that transition. And in the last year, they did move that up by a few years, 5 years, I believe. And so basically, it's to see, you know, that we would be purchasing as citizens electric vehicles.
I can't afford an electric vehicle at the prices that they're charging, and we just put a tariff on the cheap ones coming from China to double that price. You're forcing people that are entering retirement to purchase vehicles that they'll never be able to pay off, probably. So I have some concerns there, but my big concern about how we're handling the conversion from carbon power to electric is that the carbon footprint is just as large for electric, it seems, and it's a long time to sort of. So I have some philosophical problems with that. Plus, a lot of what the wars we're seeing going on right now and the scramble for rare earth is caused by the EV rush, right? And so is the economic tariff situation, I believe, because it's been used as a leverage. So I'm concerned about that. But another concern I have here in North Bay, and you'll know this file very well in East Ferris, when they talked about the East-West pipeline. And right now the Conservatives are talking about removing some of the federal oversight and regulations and reviewing big projects to bring that back. And there's worries that would allow the pipeline to go through where we didn't want it before, where people didn't want it to go before. So have you thought about that?
Yes. There's a lot there that you've packed into that particular comment. Just maybe certainly a couple of comments before, like earlier. We're fortunate that there have been a number of early adopters when it comes to electric vehicles around the world. So that the issues that you've raised, I mean, there are a number of issues that are still out there that are obstacles to you and me buying. I don't think you have. I don't have an electric vehicle yet, do you?
No, I do not.
So yes, exactly. So
I don't think it's right for my out in this area. I live out in the sticks. I need four-wheel drive, and I haven't seen any that.
You live in East Ferris.
Yeah, out in the sticks. Yeah, I'm proud to say I'm out in the sticks. Yeah.
Exactly. But certainly, I mean, the obstacles are there. There's going to be a big push on the need for charging stations across the country, and we see governments that are setting funds aside, and in that respect, there's going to be a need to.
I've seen the one in North Bay here shut down. It doesn't even work half the time.
Oh well, we have one in East Ferris and it works. And yes, and so the issue of affordability certainly is a top. I mean, those are all good comments, and they are obstacles. So it's like any change, right? Any innovation, it comes with obstacles, and so you need people that are out there using them so that you can identify the issues and then tackle the issues. And all the issues that you've mentioned as well about the environmental footprint of batteries. I mean, they're all well documented research. And so that work is underway in our own country in Sudbury, monies that have been put into research facilities to examine how we can have clean electric vehicles, in other words. So very much I see that evolution. Are we there yet? No. And the concern, I think, as well, that you've just raised in your comment is the fact that now with tariffs, how does that slow down that progression? I think we were seeing in our country great progression in terms of our province of Ontario, Quebec, federal government. And so basically, the tariffs are going to have an impact on that progression. We don't quite, I don't think, that's completely understood how that will play out there. But I mean, the fact that every country in the world, and certainly Donald Trump, with what he did with Ukraine, trying to get their critical minerals, how awful that was. And so certainly what he's doing to us, how awful that is, I think, to your point, an example of how important these critical minerals are. Not an example, it's a fact of how critical these critical minerals are to that transition. But coming back to the matter of pipelines, as I think, and yes, I've heard Poilievre as well express that we will build pipelines north, south, east, west. But we certainly, and certainly the Mark Carney government speaks about Canada becoming an energy superpower. We have everything that we require in the world to be an energy superpower. We have electricity, hydroelectricity, we have gas, we have oil. And so these are all assets that we have that are going to be essential for the world in which we're heading into, in addition to the critical minerals that we've just mentioned. But in addition to that, we have good regulations. We had good processes. Have they been too lengthy in the approval of some of these projects? I think everyone would agree as Canadians, we need to have, if we're going to become energy self-sufficient ourselves, if we're going to be able to become a superpower in the world with our energy, we need to have processes that are streamlined. And so a Conservative government has talked about completely abolishing some of these impact assessments, environmental impact assessments. But I mean, there are rights that have been acquired through Supreme Court, through judgments, for example, with our First Nations, that that mean there has to be consultation, and that's not something that you can simply jump over. Otherwise, a conservative government would be in court, in court, in court, in court, in court, and nothing would move forward. So a responsible government that recognizes, the importance of our First Nations in our country, that is committed to reconciliation, that is committed to our environment, making sure we have a good Canada, a green Canada for the future for our children, very much is taking a responsible approach. Mark Carney is saying instead of enabling 5 years, which is a very long time, for companies to be able to receive approvals for some of these projects, he's talked about shortening it to 2 years. He's talked about removing the red tape, but doing it in collaboration with all of the partners. And that's what private industry is looking for. They want commitments and timelines. But certainly, there's different opportunities for pipelines, as we know, not just necessarily a west-east. We certainly have built a pipeline in the west, Trans Mountain Pipeline. It's now in full operation, but at this point, the crude oil is going to the United States. But we know that the Indo-Pacific countries are knocking on our doors. They're very interested in our crude oil, and so there are great opportunities for us as a country in that direction. There's a need to work on the port in Vancouver, I understand. And when it comes to natural gas to Europe, I think there's already a great desire to see that happen. But there again, there are different ways to maybe get to Europe. From what I understand, I'm certainly not an expert in those matters, but in reading, some of the various plans and options that are out there, it may be a better option to go through a northern route versus a west to east route. So Mark Carney government is responsible in that respect. He knows that these decisions need to be made with partners, with the study that needs to be examined. So for me, I think our country, there's a vision that has been set, that we want energy self-sufficiency, that we want to become an energy superpower in the world, and then we're going to examine the various options and do it in a responsible fashion. That is what the Liberal Party is putting forward.
Locally, in our riding, what do you see as a potential that hasn't been realized as far as what Nipissing-Timiskaming can do to be part of this bigger push to make Canada self-sufficient?
I certainly like personally the food, that particular food security, and right. I find that important because the Timiskaming segment of our province is very rich in opportunity when it comes to agriculture, and it hasn't been tapped. Only a small percentage of the land there is used for agriculture. Although I was surprised to see that the number of farms over the past decade in Northern Ontario has increased by almost 28%. So there are many more farms, but there's much more opportunity for us. And so I find that opportunity great, and as well for Nipissing, but certainly an element that would have to be fixed. And while it's a provincial matter, I have expressed my desire to lend my voice strongly to the MPP who serves the Timiskaming riding, John Van Hoff, and that is the issue of transports on Highway 11 North. That's a significant issue, but certainly to bring product to market, you need transportation. So those issues will have to be tackled at the same time.
I think another issue locally in the region anyways for food security is to develop a way for the local food providers and the growers yes. and the makers to store and facilitate sales. I've heard that is an issue here. Have you ever looked into that issue? Well,
certainly three things. Food processing is a big one as well. And the Carney government just announced that they would put forth a fund to enable greater food processing in Canada, in Ontario, and in rural areas as well. So that is number one that's required. And so number two is certainly people talk about the need for a labeling system at the consumer end, but as well the full distribution. How do we get local products to market in our stores and in our establishments?
There is one thing I got to bring up because Jamie Board from Board's Honey always yes. talks about it, is that the regulations are harming the small producers as far as making it more onerous for inspections and to get approvals and to say what they need to say. It seems like the pharmaceutical companies are got a strong lobby that could require things that it costs too much for people to be able to provide the good natural food that we desire.
My family as well, they make honey, and so
Okay,
and
so
maple
you're
syrup,
familiar.
and
Yeah.
so yes, so we live in a world of regulations, but very much the great thing about seeing, the 13, all our ministers and come together as one, not 13 economies, but one economy, is to tackle some of these issues. It's not just, when we talk about interprovincial barriers, it's much broader. It's matters of standards, regulations, so that we can ensure that we can bring products to market and they can serve not just a small local market, but a broader market. And so, yes, it is something I've heard definitely in other food segments, and it's something that needs to be tackled.
Now, I know you have another appointment. You're heading off to, is it Castleholm?
Yes, well, I've been knocking on many doors, and so, yes.
I wanted to touch upon your connection here to the riding, which is what a lot of people are concerned about as far as having somebody that represent them. You have a long history here, your family. Tell me a little bit about it. And also the connection to the Ukraine people, because everybody knows I'm part Ukraine, and I support Canada's support of the Ukraine war against Russia.
Mm-hmm. So two things in there. Certainly, I do believe it's very important that an MP carry the voice of their riding to Ottawa for three reasons. As policies are being determined for national programming, it is important that the issues that are aligned to that issue from your riding be taken into account. And so that means knowing your communities, knowing the people in your communities, and so bringing that forward as those policies and those directions are being developed. And so number two, I think it's working with municipalities, communities. They all have different dreams and aspirations, and we have 30 in our riding, or maybe a few more. And so you need to know what these are. They're all different, and you need to work to help them with the different infrastructure issues that they're facing. And so you need to bring their voice and seek that opportunity for them in Ottawa. And then number three, for citizens. I mean, I don't think people realize how many people come into the riding offices, whether it be here in North Bay or in Timiskaming. Anthony Rhoda is known for giving an excellent service, and there's staff there that's all they do all day, help people with benefits, help people fill out forms, help people. And so that work is equally important. So to me, it very much is not a voice from Ottawa to our riding, it's a voice from our riding to Ottawa. And it needs to be a proactive voice. And that's, I mean, to some extent, that's what I've always, I try to work and represent people. I find that is an important responsibility. And so, I mean, certainly coming back to the Ukrainian, I didn't realize that I should have known by your toque. And so thank you for sharing. And right from the very...
Marlene Boyer and Corville made this for me. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm very proud of East Ferris. I mean, they did raise the Ukrainian flag. We took a position, and as a community, there's been assistance to various Ukrainian families. My own family directly has, there's 2 doctors that are unable to work in our community that have come to North Bay as a result of the war, and so we're very close to them, and they bring support to my father, who's an elderly gentleman staying at home. So it's very important that we support the Ukrainian community, and I was pleased to see the new school that's providing education and support to young families and children of Ukrainian descent in our community. I know you were there, and I congratulate you for your work, Dave, in raising that issue in our community.
Oh, thank you. I do actually have some video I haven't used yet of Anthony, probably one of his last public events that he attended as MP. And of course, we know that the Ukraine issue is very contentious from what he went through, and that's a shame. But what I wanted to ask again, just a little bit more of your family's roots in the community.
Well, we've certainly been here many years, founding families to the shores of Lake Nipissing, as I call it, or families that came from Quebec to settle in this area. And so yes, my mother's from Bonfield, my father's from Astorville, as I always say, but it's, so for me it's the Municipality of East Ferris. And I went to school here, went to school in North Bay. Everyone shops in North Bay, we live here. And my family's been involved in business. My grandmother owned cottages when the Dion quintuplet when that
tourism.
Tourism, yes,
yeah.
exactly. They were part of that, and my family, always supported the market in North Bay. They brought produce, and so yes, a very strong involvement, and we've been involved in business. My parents, and now my brother, my sisters, and so yes, a strong involvement in the community. Myself, I have worked throughout the Nipissing-Timiskaming. I started when I left university. Jean-Jacques Blais had wanted to hire me here in North Bay, but my husband was heading to Timmins with Redpath, so I was retained by Grand Council Treaty Number 9. I'm not of First Nation descent, but they needed an economic development officer to cover the north.
And what years were those?
In the 80s.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so, yes, and from there...
a lot of court cases going on then.
Yes, there were a lot of issues, and so it was very good experience for me, and I'm very well, in a way, it enriched me as a person. And then I went on to the Federal Business Development Bank, worked throughout Timmins, Sudbury, North Bay, went from there on to other positions with the bank at a national level, and then worked with the Canadian Wood Council, and again with the Canadian Wood Council, in Englehart and in Powassan there are mills. And so my touch points then varied with the bank, at a supervisory level for this particular area, with Canadian Wood Council, with wood product manufacturers.
Yeah, I saw that in your bios.
Yes.
And we have that in common. I worked for the Union of Ontario Indians for 7 years, 1993 to 2000.
Okay.
So I was a non-native person, Jagnash, working for the Anishinaabe as well. So that I have that life experience to share with you.
Dave, one of the things I find difficult is as you run like this, people are interested in knowing about your background. Yeah. But I mean, it's so enriching to learn about other people and what they're doing. And it's something that as I move forward, I want to ask more questions about people and their backgrounds.
I have one last question for you, which will be a tester for you. Would you have run if Trudeau was still leading the Liberal Party?
I made my decision because of Mark Carney, and I say that because in 2019 I was in Europe. I do these long distance walks, and I was in the United Kingdom.
That's a long walk to.
Yes, well, it was actually. I walked from the whole of Scotland at that, but every person I met when I said I was Canadian, there's a number of people, they would say, "Do you know Mark Carney? Do you know Mark Carney?" Because of Brexit. And I saw through their eyes how they valued Mark Carney. He was important to them. He was highly respected. And so I saw through their eyes.
What side was Mark, just to clarify on the Brexit, because that has different connotations?
Well, he was the Bank of England, and so helped guide them through that. And overall, I mean, a very strong record. I mean, the United Kingdom right now, as we know, is with the European Union, has a good relationship and has moved forward in a positive fashion in that regard. So, and as well, Mark Carney, when I came back to Canada, I remember 2008, I was working as well, and how he guided our country, worked with Stephen Harper. He's able to work across aisles, as they say. And so certainly an impressive gentleman. I also followed his work then when he headed the International Monetary Stability Fund, where with the G20 countries, how to ensure financial stability in the world. And so all of those experiences and that pedigree, to me, is what was needed to serve Canada. I wanted a central government. I am, in the middle. For some reason, I've always been in the middle. And so to me, the left, all of our programs are very important. That's what makes us Canadian. But as well, our focus on, our trade, our economy, economic prosperity. I felt there was a need for a bit more focus on that. And so I'm absolutely delighted that it is Mark Carney that is there and bringing that focus. And I have no hesitation that he is the right person for us as we move forward. I read everything that he puts forth. And anyway, I'm very, it's not going to be easy for a country right now. So we need a wise voice and someone that will be able to speak to Canadians. And some say he's not flamboyant, but he gives a complete answer. And that's important.
Well, I prefer the less flamboyance and more substance myself. One last thing is that I put a pause on my support of the federal Liberals when they didn't look as seriously as they should have at the promise they made about proportional representation rather than first past the post. So I know that's not part of the discussion this election, but I think we should revisit that. Have you any thoughts on changing our electoral reform or electoral reform?
I have no comments at this point, but I have been in communication with people in East Ferris that have been holding regular information sessions. And on Friday, I will be at the library at an event at 4:30 at North Bay Public Library that will be focusing on that issue. So I like to think that God gave us 2 ears so that we go forth and, we listen. And to me, it's about listening at this point.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this interview here at Lou Dawgs in North Bay. Small Town Times production is glad to be able to bring some more light into your understanding of the candidates in this federal election, April 28th. We're going to pause real quick to thank the advertisers for the Back in the Bay magazine. The spring edition is out on the streets now, and I appreciate the support, and as well as appreciate you putting an advertisement in the in the magazine.
But it's a great magazine. You do great work, Dave Dale.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Have a good day, and please like, share, and comment.